Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Thank you for joining us to pay last respects to our father, Tsutomu Nakano, otherwise known as Stony. His passing reminds us of many things, but perhaps most importantly of how deeply he touched the lives of each and every one of us here today. So I was asked to say a few things about my dad. My father taught me to be proud of my heritage and culture, to prioritize my family, work hard, always do your best, make friends, contribute to the community by volunteering. Things my dad would say or do. If you're not early, you're late. Never just drive beside a transport truck. And for people who play euchre, easy game, and I'm going alone. The staff at the Caroline Place and Aged Care brand would refer to my dad as the Energizer Bunny. I would go to visit my dad and I would ask him to write something in kanji for me. Just about always did. He'd write his name. I received many nice emails about my dad, too many to read. Dad has touched so many people. He has crossed into another generation. And I also want to read something that my Auntie Mary wrote, and I'll read it to you. Time to reflect on the past of a special person in our lives. Stony, my big brother, was a kind-hearted, friendly, thoughtful, and devoted family man. He took on the responsibility of looking after our family from the early years and settled in Hamilton. He worked tirelessly and sacrificed for us, for which we will always be grateful. He was not big in stature, but had a big heart. Everyone knew that Stony had a sharp memory. I reminded him once at the time he was known in Toronto. Returned home with me, and he was so excited to tell me that Joan had said yes to his proposal. I think it was the happiest moment in his life. Joan was a good wife and mother, never complained, and enjoyed her family life. They did a wonderful job raising 5 successful children who share a close bond. Stony made the most of his retirement, traveling to Alberta and BC, where he made sure to reconnect with some dear friends. We owe many thanks to my nephew, Kana Okawa, who took care of all the planning and driving to make it all possible. I'm sure Stony cherished every moment of making those memories. Many thanks to Stony's family for hosting wonderful birthday celebrations for Stony. It was a good opportunity for nieces, nephews, and cousins to meet and catch up. Stony lived life to the fullest with no regrets. He will be missed, but will be fondly remembered. May he rest in peace. Thank you, Auntie Mary. We will now have some eulogies. I'd like to invite Ray to come up and share some memories.
Good morning. Thank you for all being here today. As the oldest and the only son of 5 children, say I was spoiled, my father and I had a very special bond. And I want to share a few snapshots of what he did to give you a true sense of the incredible and vibrant person he was. Dad was a man of immense strength, boundless optimism, and a wonderful sense of humor. He was the kind of guy who lived life to the fullest, took everything in stride, and always kept smiling. There was a streak of rebellion in him, because he used to tell me the story of how he'd eat his lunch on the way to school and throw his lunchbox into the bridge and pick it up later. But his ability to find fun in any situation carried him through some of life's darkest times. During World War II, there were 21,000 Japanese Canadians living on the West Coast that were interned in camps. Camps were located about 100 miles east of the coast. And there basically were shacks, like wood, tar paper shacks. And they lived in those through the Canadian winters. Just imagine how tough that would have been. Both of my parents' families went through this. Dad's family was in Tashmi. But yet, Dad chose to see this dark chapter not as a tragedy, but as an adventure. He saw it as an opportunity to travel and to do different things. So instead of staying in the camp, he opted to join the road gangs to actually help build the Trans-Canada Highway. That was in the summertime, and in the wintertime, he'd work in logging camps and chopping down trees and working in the sawmill. So I think that all helped make him very sturdy and very strong. And I think that really helped him later in his life, because at the end, probably the last 4 or 6 months, he was falling maybe once a week, but he would just get up because he didn't break anything. So I think just all that physical manual labor really helped him live a longer life. So he was really positive, very adventurous, and incredibly resilient. Dad did become the ultimate family man and the 5 kids. He bought a station wagon, and every weekend we'd all pile into the back of the station wagon. There weren't any seatbelts back then. And he'd drive to my mother's parents' place in Toronto. We were living in Hamilton at the time. But he'd drive to Toronto. My mother's father had a rice cracker store in downtown Vancouver, which they actually lost during the war. But her father would treat us to rice crackers, simdae, yokan, and shaved ice cream, shaved ice in the summertime, right? And we could choose our flavor, whatever flavor we wanted. So we, us 5 kids were very, very happy to always see Grandpa and Grandma. Dad was our provider. He was the breadwinner. He worked at International Harvester and Studebaker. Both companies are gone now. And finally at White Trucks in Hamilton, where he spent a long number of years there. He worked there until he retired at age 65. But in the meantime, Mom basically looked after the 5 of us. So 5 kids in 4 years. One set of kids as twins. That's what you want to do the math. That's how it worked. So, but it was a time of glass milk bottles, cloth diapers. I remember our mother had a roller washing machine. You had to bring the clothes for the washer. So imagine 5 kids in 4 years and the diapers and the milk bottles to do that. So it's, but together, my mom and dad made it work, and we all survived and thrived. So one of the things that Dad had was an absolutely amazing memory. He could remember things that his friends forgot, and he'd tell them, "This is what you did." And because he was a truck parts salesman, so the night shift would call him up at home and say, "Where do you get this part?" So he could remember the part number and the bin location for any part that the night shift would call. So he had a really good memory. He could do anything that needed doing. So overhaul a carburetor, change the head gasket on the engine. Actually, I remember him changing brakes on the car. Re-roof the entire house. You could do all those things. And I think that really taught me how to do things yourself and be resilient. He was incredibly disciplined. He didn't drink. He did smoke, however. And I remember him having a can of tobacco in this funny little machine that would roll the cigarettes for him. But at the age of 40, he actually ran out of cigarettes one day and he decided to quit. And he did. So absolute mind over matter. And I think that determination is exactly why he lived to 105. Dad was always up for anything. We used to go camping and on canoe trips with Samantha and her friends. Some of them are here. And Dad loved calling out the bingo numbers. We had a bingo set from the cultural center. We'd bring that along and he would call out the numbers and hand out prizes to the kids. We were very happy. On one of our trips, he and my wife, Lan, went out in a canoe. So that's a bit of a problem because when a motorboat came by and they didn't know how to direct the canoe, they capsized. Land was worried about my dad, whether he could swim out of there because he wasn't a very good swimmer. My dad was more worried about his wallet. So Dad was unstoppable well into his later years. We wanted to build a deck for Samantha, my youngest daughter, for her first birthday, actually. So I actually designed this 24-foot by 36-foot deck for the back of our house. Like, it was massive. So we had all the concrete and all the wood delivered to the front of the house. They put in the driveway. He moved all of that to the backyard, and there's a hill that you have to go up to do that. But he moved all of that concrete and all the lumber, sono tube, he moved all of that up to the back of the yard. That's before I could get home from work to do that. So that just give you an idea how strong he was. He was actually around my age right now. So when he did that. One thing that Dad loved is playing cards. So playing cards with the kids, playing euchre, and I think some of his euchre friends are here. Playing bridge, pool. He basically showed me how to shoot pool, and gudji. So gudji is a Japanese card game. And when I was seeing him, when he was in the seniors residence, if I was there for 3 hours, we were playing gudji for 3 hours. So we had this running tab. We play for money, right? So, but we actually never really paid that up. So sorry, Dad. Dad was uniquely sociable, and he talked easily to anyone. So if you're in a campsite, he talked to all the people around him. He was once on a bus trip from it was Calgary to Vancouver, and he met a Chinese gentleman on the bus. He actually corresponded with that gentleman for like years after that. So he just made friends very easily, talked to people very easily. I remember our road trip through the Yukon and Alaska. We flew into Whitehorse, and Dad said, there's a friend of mine that passed away, but I know his son lives in Whitehorse. So we find a phone book. He looks up the name of the son. We call him up. He says, we're coming over to visit you. And we did. And they were happy to talk with him, to talk to somebody that knew their father so well. So, and that was the kind of person he was. He just very easy to talk to and looking to make friends. On that same trip, we actually went biking in Anchorage, Alaska. And when we actually got to our destination, we were going to head back. The park warden warned us that there was a moose and a calf on the trail. But I told my dad it would be okay, because I can bike faster than you. So Dad traveled extensively with my mother. He made a point of always, whether it was Atlantic City or Florida, Hawaii, they would try to travel and enjoy themselves. And the other set of trips after my mother did pass was actually traveling with Dana. Dana, just wanted to recognize you. Oh, right there. So Dana would actually take my dad. He was the driver and guide on these road trips. And they would drive out to Alberta, out to Vancouver, even into the States. And they would be basically looking for the history of Japanese Canadians and family history as well. So I really wanted to say thank you to Dana for doing that and looking after our dad on these road trips. So in 2010, the Japanese Canadian Culture Center organized their Warriors Conference because they realized that a lot of the people in my dad's generation were getting old and they were passing away. But they wanted to hear from them the story of the warriors, what happened to them during World War II. So I took my dad to Toronto to attend the conference. And we were sitting in the room waiting for the speaker, but the speaker didn't show up. So they asked for a volunteer. My dad puts up his hand. So now my dad has a video recording of his talk at this conference, and he talked about the warriors, what happened to him during the war. So that was the kind of guy who was very spontaneous and wanting to talk about things. So above all, Dad was happy that his kids were doing well. That's the one thing that he would say to me. I'm just happy that myself and all my sisters are doing okay, and that extended then to our children and then our grandchildren. So he was very happy about that. And He enjoyed spending time with the grandchildren and teaching them to fish or playing cards with them and just passing down his love of life. Dad was honest, hardworking, optimistic, and as I said, deeply sociable. He wanted nothing but the absolute best for his children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. So I just want to say to Dad that you succeeded in doing all of that. We appreciate everything you did for us. You can rest easy now, knowing that you will live on in our thoughts, our words, and our actions. You are part of who we are through the beautiful impact of how you lived your life. So Dad, you can rest now and be at peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. Next, we'd like to invite Camille to say a few words. That's granddaughter.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming. My name is Camille. I'm Raven's eldest daughter. And I'm very fortunate to be speaking to you today. When I first met Grandpa Stony, I was about 9 or 10 years old. I'm his step-granddaughter, but from the very beginning, he never made me feel like step anything. I was simply his granddaughter. I didn't know then how much he would shape the way I look at life. Grandpa Stony was a ball of energy who loved to talk and recant his adventures, who was always trying something new, always fixing something, and was always very capable of physically taxing feats. I want to re-emphasize what my dad said about Grandpa's fearlessness to try new things. He climbed the very steep and grueling hike up a mountain in Vancouver called the Grouse Grind in his elderly years. He drove long distances, as Dad said, across Canada and the US with Grandma Joan, Dana, and then my dad. He canoed with Mom when he wasn't a strong swimmer. He started conversations with anybody just because he liked to make a connection. Hearing his stories reinforced how I should just pull up my big girl pants and just try it, whatever it happens to be. I don't know exactly how it'll turn out. I just have to be willing to begin. My dad described how Grandpa Stony helped him build a big deck in our first family home for Samantha's birthday when she was an infant. I want to describe it from the point of view of a 14-year-old girl. I remember looking out the kitchen window in awe at this old but very strong man carrying load after load of heavy lumber and concrete slabs in a quiet, deliberate, almost robotic manner without any complaints. You have to imagine the route of the path that he took. The wooden planks and the concrete slabs were piled at the base of a long driveway, and Grandpa would have to pick up the plank or the slab and walk it to the side of the house, like Dad said. He'll climb up this really narrow, uneven stone stepway, and with this plank or concrete on his shoulders or on his arms, he would wind his way around the back of the house without hitting anything, and then he would deposit the heavy load to the other side of the backyard. He must have done that like over 50 times. Watching his tenacity taught me that I am capable of doing hard things, physical or mental hard things, and to just put my head down and get it done. Another thing that I want to remember is that Grandpa loved to share his adventures. He always brought these small palm-sized photo albums. Remember those? That's how old I am. Remember them like before we had the iPhones that hold all our photos. And he would just bring them out into family gatherings or friend parties and show recent road trips and travels, the people he reconnected with and their children and their grandchildren. In the beginning, when I was an ignorant preteen, I would just roll my eyes and say, "Ugh, go ahead, Grandpa," internally. "Not again, Grandpa." But then as the years went by, I actually became more mature, and I seriously appreciated those photos because I would be in awe of how he would be so happy to share his reconnections. So I think to myself, Grandpa, thank you for showing me how easy it is to connect with people from your past, despite all the years that have passed. Just by making a simple effort to reach out, you can touch so many hearts and create new memories. Thank you, Grandpa, for showing us how to live life with energy, heart, and without fear. We'll miss you very much.
Thank you, Camille. Next, my daughter Karen is going to say a few words.
Hello, everyone. My name's Karen. I'm Marlene's daughter and Stony's granddaughter. Thank you all for joining us to honor a truly remarkable life. Growing up, Grandpa was ever present. I remember going to Grandma and Grandpa's house and playing cards with him, as Ray mentioned. I remember his not so subtle celebrations every time he had a winning hand, long before he actually played it. Grandpa would join us to celebrate the holidays, and we would play cards. We would go to the cottage, and we would play cards some more. I learned a lot of card games growing up, spending time with Grandpa as a child. As an adult, reflecting on his life and looking around this room today, I recognize that one really important lesson Grandpa taught me is the importance of community and connecting with people. When we would attend cultural events, Grandpa was always warm and engaging with friends and family. But one thing that really stuck out to me was when he took the trip out west by car, reconnecting with people that he had not been in contact with for decades. Grandpa had a remarkable memory for people and places he'd visited. He loved to share stories and make jokes to make people smile. He was energized by his relationships with others, and it fed his soul. I won't forget Grandpa's warmth, his bold and adventurous spirit, and this timely lesson to prioritize and stay connected with the people in our lives. And who knows, maybe this is part of the recipe for living to 105.
Thank you, Karen. Next, Harley Miki will come and say a few words.
Hello, my name is Harley Miki. My father, Gen, and Stony were best of friends for their whole lives. And Ray and I have been great friends for many years, since we were children as well. Stony Nakano, what can you say? I could talk about picnics at the Hidden Valley Park in Burlington, or fishing at Port Severn or Fenland Falls. But what I remember most vividly about Stony was when he would come over to play gunji with my father. We would all get excited when Mr. Nakano was coming because he would always bring us some treat. But beside that, the most entertaining part of his visit was always the card games with my father. We're talking about high energy, excited voices, people jumping out of their chairs, slamming the gunji cards on the table. Yes, it was a sight to be seen. And all of that came from Stony. My father was very quiet. One visit I recall extra special, Stony brought me a toy car. I had to be 6 or 7 at the time, a 1958 Studebaker Golden Arrow. Now, I don't have a lot of toys from my childhood. But I still have the car he gave me. Yes. I just loved it from the moment that I saw it. I played with it for many years. What does it say about a man who knew, What does it say about a man who brings such an enduring and cherished gift to a young man? I think it says that he was insightful, he was kind, he was generous, and he was very, very thoughtful. And that's how I would like to remember Stony, and that's how I will always remember Stony. Thank you. By the way, did you get one of these? No.
Thank you, Harley. If you're following along in the program, next we're going to be doing the Sutra chanting. We'll begin with Sambujo. When we begin the chanting of Shoshinge, the family will come up and offer incense. There are two set up. So if you want to come up, there can be two going at a time, and you're going to exit the room and go around to come back. Okay, you're not going back to the aisleway, but the family will go first, so you'll be able to see what we're doing. Anybody who would like to also come and offer incense after the family does, you're welcome to do that. And that's it. Thank you. Hashimoto Sensei will now do the stern talk. Read the letter for me.
Slow. Good morning, everyone. I'm a Reverend Kensho Hashimoto, the recent minister, the Hamilton Buddhist Temple, and the Toronto Buddhist Church. Before my Dharma talk, I received one condolence message, previous minister, Reverend Fuji. So I would like to read his message. Dear Nakano family, I would like to express my heartfelt condolences to all Nakano family. I still remember the one member of Stony during my time as the resident minister in Toronto. I used to visit the Hamilton Buddhist Temple at old location on 671 Tate Avenue almost every other month. When I was first arrived in Canada, my language skill wasn't good enough, but as soon as Stony found out that I was a new addition from Japan, he came up and talked to me in mixed Japanese and English with his very gentle smile. We always enjoyed tea and refreshment after Sunday service. Stony shared with me a lot of stories and experience through his life. Also, he always reported to me about his luck from last visit to his favorite place. I'm truly amazed that he remembers all names and details from his childhood in BC, wartime, and then Hamilton. I believe that he's now in the Pure Land with many familiar faces. From now on, he's always with us as Buddha. You may find peace and comfort within the Buddhist teaching. I truly miss him. In Gasho, Reverend Tomofumi Fuji, Shiga, Japan. So, Shakyamuni Buddha understood this suffering and described it as the pain from separation from a loved one. The pain reminded us how deeply we are connected to those we love, and how precious each encounter truly is. Our tradition, the Buddhist name, Homyo, is given to all followers of the Buddha path. Buddhist name presentation is conducted for those who have not received the Buddhist name before passing away. It's a name that symbolizes the person's entrusting heart in Amida Buddha and their birth into the Pure Land. His Buddhist name is Buddha of the Path of Gratitude, which is a shaku ondo in Japanese. The character on means gratitude. It reminds us of the many kindness and support we receive throughout our lives. Stony lived a long life filled with many encounters, challenges, and blessings. Even though difficult times, he continued to walk his life with quiet strength and appreciation. And actually, the kanji character on is I picked up from his wife's Buddhist name. The character do, second character do means a path or way. So together, ondo means a path of gratitude. It reflects Stony's life as a long path shaped by gratitude, perseverance, and the many people who supported him. Through this Buddhist name, we remember Stony not only for the life he lived, but also as one who now guided us to reflect on gratitude and the name Butsu. As you reflect on his life, I believe his personality and achievements are deeply engraved in your heart. Everyone gathered here today had a chance to meet him at some point in his life. We are born into this world through karma that transcends our own will, and each of us lives our own life within various relationships, families, friends, and others. Within these relationships, through wonderful encounters, you met him. No matter how much you love him and wish to stay with him, it is the nature of this world that we must part from our loved one. Even though we understand this truth, the grief of losing someone dear is not something that simply fades with time. However, there is one thing that tells us that this farewell is not eternal. It is a teaching of Amida Buddha, the very teaching of the Jodo Shinshu tradition that we are listening to now. So Amida Buddha offered us the place where we can meet again. This place is called the Pure Land. Amida Buddha embraces everyone just as they are and guides them to the Pure Land, a world of enlightenment, through the working of the primal vow. So those who encounter the primal vow will without fail be born into the Pure Land through the Amida Buddha's compassionate working. It's also said that after being born in the Pure Land and attain the Buddhahood, one's return to this world of delusion to guide those with whom they share karmic connections. So when we think about this world, we realize that every second many people pass away. Yet we rarely think about the deaths that occur in places unrelated to us. It's only when someone close to us passes away, we truly recognize the fragility of life. Our lives are so busy that we tend to forget that simple fact that one day our own life will come to the end. So today, through Stony's passing, we are given a moment to face this reality. So starting here with you, I too am reminded of how fragile and limited my own life truly is. Amida Buddha assured us that no matter when, where, or how our life ends, the very moment is that moment we are born in the Pure Land. So through this funeral service, I believe Stony is leading us to encounter Amida Buddha, who deeply understood where this fragile life is going. Jodo Shinshu funeral is not only the time to remember the deceased, but also an opportunity to realize that our own lives are embraced by Amida Buddha's wish. Amida Buddha's primal vow, his wish for our birth in the Pure Land, come to us as the words Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, calling out to us. So Namo Amida Butsu is not a phrase we create or recite on our own. It's a voice of Amida Buddha calling to us first, and moved by that call, these words naturally arise from our lips. When we recite Namo Amida Butsu, we are never alone. Within this Namo Amida Butsu, Stony is also within us. Not as someone we must hold on to, but as one who has already been embraced by Amida Buddha's compassionate working. To live a life of listening to and saying Namo Amida Butsu is to allow this separation to carry meaning, so that our grief does not remain sorrow alone, but becomes a place where we are gently guided. Please cherish Namo Amida Butsu together with your memories of Stony. In your daily lives, may you sometimes remember that within Namo Amida Butsu, we are always together. So today, please do not say goodbye. Instead, say see you again. This is a teaching of the Jodo Shinshu Buddhism. Finally, I'd like to read the letter of Renyo in Japanese. So please see the English translation on the page 7. No, no. それ人間の不詳なる相をつらつら感ずるに、おおよそ儚きものはこの世の始終中幻のごとくなるいちごなり。さればいまだ漫才の人参を受けたりということを聞かず、一生過ぎやすし。今に至って誰か100年の容態を保つべきや、我や先人や先、今日とも知らず、明日とも知らず。遅れ先立つ人は、元の雫末の梅雨よりも茂しと言えり。されば明日には光があって、夕べには白骨となれる皆に。すでに無常の風来たり濡れば、すなわち二つの眼をたちまちに閉じ、一つの息長く耐えぬれば。傲願虚しく返じて、通りの装いを失いぬる時は、六神剣六集まって、嘆き悲しめども、さらにその回あるべからず、さてしもあるべきことならねばとて、野外に置くて、弱の煙となし果てぬれば、ただ八根の溝残れり、哀れというもなかなか愚かなり。されば人間の儚きことは、老少不浄の境なれば、誰の人も早く五章の一内字を心にかけて、阿弥陀仏と深く頼み参らせて、念仏もすべきものなり。あなかしこ。あなかしこ。Please join me in that show by putting our hands together. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo. 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 Namo.
Thank you, Sensei. We will now have the word of appreciation from Ray Nakano.
So before the closing remarks, I would like to express our deepest gratitude to the individuals and organizations who helped make today's service possible on such short notice. Dan actually passed away early Wednesday morning. Here we are 4 days later. So I say thanks for making that happen. First, our sincere thanks to the management and staff of Caroline Place, where Dad happily resided for over 6 years. As well, I'd like to thank the management staff of Aged Care Brand Long-Term Care for their dedicated care during his last 4 months. He went into Aged Care Brand in end of February, so he was there for about three and a half months before he passed away. We also deeply appreciate the overwhelming wave of support we've received. Thank you to everyone who sent emails, texts, cards, and letters of condolence to our family. A special thank you goes to our close friends, the Happy Club, the group that we belong to, Zan, Tien, and Winlook, and to my sister Marlene for providing today's refreshments. And personally, I'm grateful to have all of my sisters here together today to say goodbye to our dad. I also want to thank Lan and Samantha for the photo collage that they put together. They were working on it last night. And a special thanks to Lan for helping with the obituaries, the ones that were published in the Toronto Star and in the Hamilton Spectator. So we managed to get that in on time. That was good. Now, there's one person I want to single out for a very special thank you, and that's my youngest sister, Marlene. Marlene has provided unwavering support and absolute devotion to my father, to our father, all these years. So Marlene, we, myself, Chris, Carol, and Amy, deeply appreciate everything you've done for Father. So thank you very much. I know it took a lot of patience, a lot of perseverance. Sometimes my dad can be difficult. Stubborn is a word. But thank you for doing all that and so much more for him. I really appreciate that. We'd also like to thank Sensei Hashimoto from the Toronto Buddhist Church for conducting today's funeral service with such grace. And our thanks to Jessica and Emily of Dodsworth Brown for their guidance and professionalism in bringing this service together so quickly, including looking after the obituaries that Lan helped to put together and getting them into the newspapers, as I mentioned earlier. Finally, thank you to each and every one of you for attending today's service and coming out to support us as we go through this transition for our father. If he was here, I'm sure he'd say thank you very much. But I just want to say thank you for helping us to celebrate our father's remarkable life. So thank you. I think 105 years, it's a long time to live, a lot of experiences to have. I know one thing they said that a lot of his friends have passed away. Of course, when you're 105, there's a lot of friends. But at the very end, he passed away very quickly and in his sleep, without pain. So I'm really happy for that. So suddenly. And again, thank you very much for attending today's service.
I'd like to personally thank everybody for coming today too. My dad would be very happy. And this concludes today's service. Thank you.